What's up? I'm Sam Maxon, aka Slammin' Sam. I'm a DJ, actor, philanthropist, self-proclaimed Renaissance man. When I'm not in the studio, I'm diving into my hobbies and exploring many interests. With that comes my personal uncensored insights on anything and everything. Are you ready for it? This is The Slam Show.
How we doing, everybody? Another Monday night at the Church Ward Pub.
Woo! Look at that.
Do not adjust your TVs. This is not Slam and Sam. It's the Benny Mac Takeover. I've got my friends Lisa Churchward in the house.
Hello.
Shauna Rosenblum is our special guest tonight.
Hola.
Welcome.
Rockwall Wines. And we are going to chat it up, have a couple drinks, and
drink some
see
wine.
where this takes us.
Absolutely.
How are you ladies doing?
Outstanding.
Outstanding.
How are
welcome,
you?
welcome.
Very
I'm
excellent.
good. I was telling you earlier, I'm pretty stoked to have you here.
Thank you.
I'm a little bit of a wine geek at times, so
I'm stoked to be here.
I'm pretty happy
Yeah,
about it.
it was Ben here who suggested you as a
I
guest.
did. I kind of,
Right on, man.
I kind of
Right
trolled
on,
you a
right
tiny
on,
bit. I
right
was like,
on.
Shauna, maybe she should
I
come
was
on the
like,
show. That'd be pretty cool.
He's like,
So-
I don't know Alameda well. I've only ever been one place, Rockwall.
Oh, I love
You
that.
are ratting me out
That's
hardcore right
that's
now.
a decent plug. I like that.
Yeah.
I like that.
Although, since I've been here, this is my second time on the show since it's been at the church ward. I come a little bit earlier because it takes so long to get out of the city.
Cheers. Yeah, it
Traffic
does.
wise. Cheers, ladies. And so we've been exploring. That's fantastic.
Thank you.
So we've been exploring some places. We went to. I've been writing them down so I could. Where'd we go today? What was it called? The Hobnob. Hobnob.
yeah.
Hobnob's super cute.
I had a great time at the Hobnob.
Absolutely,
Good
and
food, good
Hobnob does karaoke on Tuesday or
geez.
Thursday nights.
Thursday nights.
Thursday night, so we're gonna start doing a little collab with them and do our karaoke
Oh,
on
cool.
Tuesdays.
What a good coincidence.
Yeah.
And we went to the little wine bar by the movie theater.
Excellent.
And that was kind of fun.
Yeah, for sure.
A friend
Karen.
of mine.
Karen, right?
Exactly
yeah,
right.
She's
That's
awesome.
who was there.
She's
She was
awesome.
great. Took good care of us.
Yeah.
And then we came here and got ready for the show. So what's going on with you? How was your weekend? What are you up to? Talk to
Last
us.
weekend was very, very big for us. We had our 8-year reunion, or 8-year anniversary, excuse me, that we've
Yeah,
owned the
congratulations.
bar.
Cheers
Yeah,
to
dude.
Thank
that.
you.
That is
Appreciate
that is not
Cheers,
easy in this
everybody.
business. Good for
Major
you.
ups.
Major up.
Major
Thank you. And we had a very awesome guest, Mr. Fab, and I want to say thank you so much to Mr. Fab for coming out, helping us celebrate the show, the turnout, the energy, the video that Alex Mejia made as a tribute to us. It was all so touching, so amazing, and I just want to thank everybody again for celebrating with us and just making it such a wonderful night. So thank you guys so much. And Sam was there, came and rocked it with us.
Oh, man, that's the guy, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's the guy. Now, I mean, I have so many questions to ask you, but let's start, how was your weekend? What's kind of new in your world? What's going on sort of
Let's see, what's today? Today's Monday.
Today is Monday. Yeah, we are all recovering from our weekend. currently.
Yeah, indeed. Yeah, getting ready for Thanksgiving here for sure.
Snuck up on us.
Yeah, I know. I wanted to bring some awesome
talk to
Thanksgiving wines here. Obviously, you see this is sparkling wine, but it's red. So not Lambrusco, like the sweet Italian red sparkler like one might think. This is actually called our Sparkling Brut Noir, and it's a 2015 vintage, and it's actually 2-year barrel-aged Pinot Noir. And so aged it in barrel for a full 2 years, and then started the re-fermentation process to get the CO2 and the effervescence,
right.
Exactly. But it should read like sort of a still Pinot Noir, but a little bit, more sparkly.
Just so like a little effervescence.
You bet,
Right?
you bet.
So it's interesting that it's barrel aged and that is it has a date on it, like it's a vintage, as
Indeed.
opposed to a non-vintage.
Absolutely.
Because it's from a specific barrel, specific location. Is that right?
Yeah, specific. So this vineyard comes out of Sassoon Valley.
So crazy.
Yeah, it's an awesome vineyard. They grow fantastic Pinot Noir there, and I'm making a still one out of it this year too. So I'm really excited. The flavors are great, and it just really lends itself to holiday fare. So where one might pair a Pinot Noir with like turkey or stuffing or whatever, this can take the place easily.
It's so fun because of the bubbles, right? I mean, so bright.
And it cuts
so
right
fresh.
through the fat, like the fat of, whatever, turkey. I mean, turkey's not exactly, it's lean, but, we do it in bacon and all the things.
So good. Thanks for sharing.
Excellent.
My pleasure. I got more in this fancy little box down here.
Dude, we are packing.
Yes.
We are packing. It was Carla's birthday last week.
Happy
so
birthday.
We went to New Orleans, actually,
fantastic.
which I'd never been. Have you guys been to New Orleans?
It's on my bucket list.
Dude, I've never been to New Orleans.
What? This woman
I've
travels.
never been to New Orleans.
Like, I'm always calling her. So Sean and I have known each other
since second grade.
Second grade. And I'm always hitting her up, or she's either at home, which, she likes to hang out at home, or she's like some crazy place around the world. And I'm like,
or
what?
at work. She neglected to say that I work about 12 hours a day.
Yeah,
if I'm not at work.
Exactly. If you're not like at work or at home, then you're like somewhere crazy all over the world.
Yeah,
so.
for sure. We definitely do a lot of
I
traveling.
can't believe you've never been.
Dude, me neither. And it's definitely on the bucket list, like you said, for sure.
You guys have to go. Carla, for all intents and purposes, my wife, is one of those. She gets on Yelp and she makes all these notes of like all these great places she wants to go check. So we were there for 5 days, and we were just on this rigorous schedule of tons of
enjoyment,
food, tons of great music, drinking a little bit, tiny bit.
Did you stay near the French Quarter?
So, close enough, and it was actually really interesting. We got an Airbnb, and we stayed in the neighborhood called Bywater, and we were right on the edge of the 9th Ward and Bywater. And really, and it's called Bywater because it's literally right by the water, right? But it was interesting this many years later to see the effect of Hurricane Katrina still impacting them. And the 9th Ward was one of those areas that were really, really ravaged by it. And so they have these beautiful, cool shotgun homes. That's the style. This is these long, like it almost looks like a mobile home kind of.
You could shoot a shotgun
exactly
and go
right.
from one into the other.
And there would be like a beautiful redone one, and then a couple boarded up, and then another one. And you could, it was touching to sort of see still the devastation and still the things that the community is dealing with, but they're thriving. Yeah. There's like a whole new food thing, and like everywhere, everywhere, right? And
that's heartening.
Yeah, and it was a blessing, I always heard about the 9th Ward as being one of the tougher neighborhoods, really, in the country.
Isn't that where Lil Wayne's from?
Where?
Isn't that where Lil Wayne's
from? Yeah, it is.
I
think so. I think
so.
But everybody was very sweet, and everybody was very kind. There were some places we were told we shouldn't go after dark and things like that, but for the most part, which I never listened to anywhere. But lots of good people, lots of good food. I definitely recommend it if you haven't gone.
Yeah,
I need most incredible music. I mean, the music was really what I'll take back from that. So much soul and that jazz over there.
Totally.
You know what that actually reminds me of is I was watching the Today Show, and they were talking about the recent devastation that's happened all over the world in these cities like Texas, in Houston,
right.
And in Florida, and Santa Clara,
Puerto
Rico specifically, and just the Caribbean in general, and how what happens after these horrible natural disasters is that they lose the tourism, which is really unfortunate because they need that to thrive. So if you have a chance, I don't know, to check it out, they still have it up, but they were talking about Napa Valley, and they were saying like 90% of Napa Valley is up and running, but
people aren't there. People aren't going. People have canceled all their vacations. And if you want to help wine country, the best thing you can do is go visit, go buy the wine, go drink the wine, go spend your money. Napa Valley, like you said, it thrives on tourism. I mean, think about like Puerto Rico, man. Like they still don't have power.
No, they're done.
No,
they
still
don't have
power. Months it should be.
And once the cameras go, and once all the news goes, and everything like that, and then there they are. They're stuck to.
Well, and then there's another natural disaster that supersedes that, and all of a sudden it's like, oh, Puerto Rico. Oh yeah, Puerto Rico. Jeez.
Yeah, and it made me think of Santa Rosa and Napa when I was there, and I just thought, wow, how long ago was Katrina? And I just thought, geez, we are in a major rebuild scenario, and so.
Something beautiful though, I have 63 different vineyards that I work with for the winery. Not a single one of them was damaged, and to have cheers, cheers. I mean, cheers. There were so many people who lost their homes, but not that many vineyards burned.
Just a couple, right?
Yeah, it really wasn't. There
Well,
were
just people's jobs.
There were some wineries that burned
Yeah.
down, which is so unfortunate. But as you know, we kept hearing vineyards make really awesome fire breaks because these plants are vigorous and they're wet and they're thriving and there's dirt and they make really incredible fire breaks.
I would have never
So
thought
it like
that.
breathes
Yeah.
new life into it. Interesting.
And I mean, as we all saw, Santa Rosa got hit badly, but Napa, Sonoma, they're ready. They're ready for people. They're ready to pour you wine. You've never met friendlier people. If
Right,
you go up to
currently,
Napa and
right,
Sonoma
yeah.
right now, they are ready for you.
And you can get the deals. This is the time to go.
Oh, for sure,
because
for
they
sure.
need your money. So this is, if you're looking for a romantic getaway, Napa's a
Yeah,
great
now's the
location.
time. Now's the time. If you ever said, God, I would love to go to Napa, but it's so crowded, go.
Yeah,
Now's the
today.
time.
And it's like, I mean, it just brought it all full circle for me, going to New Orleans and seeing all that and then all these things. But I try to be a fairly positive human being.
Sure.
And when these things happen from tragedy, from hardship, it always comes great art, great, human spirit. It's like sometimes you just kind of need to just be positive and just build on it. Everyone coming together. I mean, I've seen so many families helping families and so many people doing things that, you have to be inspired by
Absolutely.
it.
And this is the time of
Absolutely.
the year to remember, again, it's Thanksgiving. We're coming up on Thanksgiving weekend
Amen.
and into the holidays. And these families are going to need that extra support, not just the usual donations, but at Christmas time, the little kids that are going to be expecting the toys under the tree. And, the parents are just, they can't even, rebuild the house right now. They're not even thinking about that, but it's, it's important. So we got to remember to give and donate and maybe find, I don't know specifically if there's
Yeah, the food bank is a really great place to go to. If you want to donate, you can go to places like Walmart where the turkeys are really inexpensive. I mean, all the Thanksgiving fixings are super inexpensive.
I think they're actually doing meals too. Like
awesome.
You can,
Buy like a bet. Yeah, you can buy 10 turkeys. Go donate them to your local food bank. That's awesome. People appreciate it.
yeah.
Well, so since you already kind of ratted me out about my dorky fanness for Shauna, I figured this is my opportunity to kind of ask her a few questions and
Please,
kind of
shoot.
hang out a little bit. So,
Thanks for having me on, by the way.
come on. Well, I guess I was the catalyst for it. It turns out I didn't really know
I was
that.
like, I
I got a
think I
text from
might be able
Sam.
to get a hold
I
of
got a
her.
text
Yeah.
from Sam going, "What are you doing on the 20th?" I'm like, "I don't know. I'm doing your show." He's all good because Shauna's going to be here, and I was like, "You got me." So we were talking before. I met you, a long time ago, at one of the wine events, and it was.
We think it was Zap.
I think it
We
was
knew it was
that
Zap.
too,
Okay.
and it was the Zin. That's the Zin one,
You
right?
bet.
And a good friend of mine, Wesley Box. Thank you, brother, for the recommendation. He said, "Look, you have to go. You have to meet Shauna. You have to taste these wines." And I was like, "Shauna who?" "Oh, Shauna Rosenblum." I was like, "Rosenblum?"
I know that.
I was like, "Well, everybody knows that name." I'm like, "Okay, so is she doing something different than her dad? Is like, what's her gig?" And he said, "Look, she's doing a bunch of cool stuff." And I mean, I don't want to talk about age, but you were a kind of a young and up and coming winemaker and kind of rebellious and sort of doing your own thing. And those are all the things that make me excited about anything. I don't care who's rebellious about what. I like rebellious music, rebellious
Sure,
wine, whatever
sure,
I was in. So I'm like, show me. And we did a little tasting, and man, it was so good. And then you came over at that time. I ran the Panama Hotel, and you came over, and we got your wines in there. My question to you is, you said 63 vineyards. Is that what you said, right?
Yeah, 63 vineyards.
Contra Costa County. I mean, not
bet,
just, I'm
bet.
not talking just like Napa Vineyards, Sonoma, Lodi, Contra Costa. I mean, again, I'm going to wrap myself. I know probably more than I should know.
Good. That's great.
But these are not like vineyards that people are looking at going, "Oh, well, the best wine in the world comes from Contra Costa County."
Absolutely.
Like, that's not what they're doing. But you go through and you pick these different wines and you get these different grapes and all this fruit and you wind it. I mean, you make really cool blends and really odd varietals from odd locations. And talk to me, like, is that like a philosophical, is that on purpose?
Yeah, man, you bet. Looking for the right grapes. I mean, I'm going to these weird little odd pockets of California and finding these odd sort of forgotten varieties. And just because they're not Cabernet or Chardonnay or Zinfandel doesn't make them any less valuable. In fact, frankly, in my mind, it makes them more valuable. Because what else is there? You know, it's like sparkling barrel-aged Pinot Noir.
And not that you don't do, you know, Napa and Sonoma.
I do all the
Monte Rosso, the Zinfandel. I mean,
Yeah.
that's a legendary vineyard over there. You've got the Merlot that you make.
Yeah, the Stag's Leap.
Stag's Leap Merlot,
Stag's Leap
exactly
Merlot.
right. So those are like major, legit pockets
Yeah.
of
Namesakes.
Exactly
Yeah,
right.
namesakes.
Those do have some brand
Sure.
with, but it's the other wines that I
Yeah.
kind of geek out
the
over.
Sagrantino out of Tracy
Or
Hills.
we had Montepulciano
Yes.
that we did from Contra Costa. Did you bring
honey,
that?
I brought you some Montepulciano. Dun, 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 dun.
That's the one, right? So, I mean, so philosophically,
Yeah.
you are looking under rocks and everywhere
I
trying
am.
to find good
I
vineyards.
am.
Now, do you go to the vineyards?
I
Are
do.
You,
I do. Yeah, I go to all 63 vineyards. I put a lot of miles on my Prius, particularly like March through June when I'm checking out, you know, like bud break and fruit set, and just checking out how things are looking for the year. I mean, I think all winemakers are kind of like weather junkies. You know, we want to know what's happening. Like last year, Monte Rosso had hail at bud break, and you know, people were freaking out. But the grower up there, Brene Royal, man, she's a rock star. She nailed it. She figured it out, and
It's all science, right? I
Oh,
mean,
it is.
yeah.
It's chemistry. It's
Yeah.
biology. I mean, you know, but yeah, this Montepulciano was sort of
Where is that? Where's that vineyard?
it's actually in Brentwood.
Okay.
Yeah,
'Cause,
and it's.
I mean, Sam and I are from Pittsburgh.
Oh, okay.
That's how we met each other. So
Okay.
anytime we get a special Cocoa County kind of
Dude.
little vibe, we want to support it.
I
you know.
love Contra Costa County. Frankly, there's this like sort of
Old
like
Vines Inn,
old.
right?
I mean, the oldest vines,
That's right.
because it's planted in white sand, which was phylloxera proof. I don't know if you guys know phylloxera. It was a louse root, basically this little vermin that
Educate.
came through in the early 1900s and decimated a lot of the vines in Napa and Sonoma, and really wiped out most of wine country. But the vines in Contra Costa County were phylloxera proof because they're grown in white sand. By white sand, I do mean that stuff that you see like at the beach. It's a little sketchier though. I wouldn't take off my shoes and walk through the vineyard, and there's some strange company out there. But it's beautiful soil, and the vines love it. And the coolest part is they're old because they never had to be replanted. So a lot of the vines in Napa and Sonoma, as you know,
I mean, Oakley, right? Has
Yeah,
some like
Oakley.
seriously 100-year-old,
130-year-old Zin vines are my oldest
Unbelievable.
vines.
Yeah, that's insane.
But a lot of the vines, you know, per the phylloxera epidemic, had to be torn out. And so, you know, that means that a lot of the vines in Napa and Sonoma that were planted in the 1840s and 50s had to be torn out. They were, you know, they were compromised. And so the oldest vines you'll really find in Sonoma are Monte Rosso,
Yeah.
which are 119-year-old Zin vines.
Yeah.
But really, other than that, you might find, you know, 75, 80-year-old cab vines, but
Which is
really
still
nothing older than that.
ridiculously old.
It is.
but
I
it's
mean,
not-
let's be frank.
Right,
But
it's not 130.
130 is,
Yeah,
I mean, that's like,
Like, how old are the vines in Italy? Do you think? I'm like, I'm not a wine nerd, so you guys are like
Yeah,
a
sorry.
little bit of my head, but
Sorry.
it is so. And in a way, like I'm totally following what you guys are saying, and it feels like more intriguing. I'm interested.
yeah. And, you know, I mean, you may have a more specific answer, but I mean, grapes have been grown there for
Yeah,
thousands
exactly. People
of
have been
years.
making wine for thousands
Back
of
to
years.
the ancient
So-
Roman times.
I'll have to Google it later.
Yeah.
Italy's funny because there are small villages all over the place that have been doing their kind of wine and their families and whatever for generations and generations.
Oh, that's beautiful.
Some of it's not really even
we're gonna go here
that
next.
documented, but as far, I mean, look, we're only a couple hundred years old as a nation.
Yeah.
Let
seriously,
alone like growing
seriously.
wine and all that kind of stuff. I mean, we are newbies on many levels.
We've got a little bucket if you guys want.
Yeah, bucket would be better. This
know
is
what?
an
It's
8-ounce sparkling glass, though, so it can hang for a little bit.
Oh yeah, perfect.
That's for the high school kids later,
Yeah.
right? Yeah.
That's the sideways Merlot bucket.
When we play King.
Did you see that Wine Spectator, #1 wine in the world, Duckhorn Merlot?
What?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, for 2017. I'm happy. Merlot's back in a big way.
Right. It was Sideways that ruined Merlot.
It was Sideways that ruined Merlot.
Sideways is a movie. When did that come out? 10 years ago or something?
I was thinking
Longer?
405 maybe?
Yeah. And it's a great movie. It's super fun. Even if you don't like wine, it's a super fun movie. But,
This is such a pretty bottle.
Thank
But,
you.
But
Yeah,
but
for
there's
sure.
a character in the movie that just hated Merlot. And it
Can you
literally...
Can you quote him for us?
I'm looking fucking Merlot. Yeah.
You know, I printed that on one of my bottles with asterisks and all of the things.
Really?
I'm not drinking any effing Merlot.
F and Merlot,
Yeah.
right? But it
TTV
literally
passed
set,
it.
It literally set Merlot back for years. Speaking of the bottles, talk to me about the bottle design.
Yeah, totally.
Now you're doing some other kind of new artwork stuff.
Yeah. So as
Is this your artwork? Or?
this is a so I gave our amazing designer a rough drawing of a mermaid, and he kicked some ass.
Oh yeah, it's
and
gorgeous.
made this incredible graphic. So I call this Zin Nymph, and this is bone dry white zin. I know you hear white zin and you're like, it's sweet. No, it's not. It is not sweet. I made it bone dry.
So why not call it a rosé? Just because you wanted to defunk the white
Because
zin myth?
that's exactly right. Because I'm open to a little bit of a pushback. You know, I wanted to start a conversation.
That's why I'm such a big fan. That's
Thank
so
you.
Terrible.
You know, and every time I see someone saying rosé of Zinfandel, I'm like, why, man?
It's white zin.
You could have called it white zin.
That
but
is
it's such
good.
a-
Missed opportunity. There you go.
there
I
you
like
go,
that. I
Joanne.
like that. The glass coming in from the
No,
side.
she is a major. Well, her favorite is Côte de Provence. She likes the French rosés.
Oh,
which
so
I
then
do too.
you'll dig this. So
Yeah.
this is nice
Yeah.
and dry, definitely Provençal style as far as zin can go.
I thought I might miss the sweetness, but then it's totally perfect.
No, you're not. No, it's nice and fruity. Definitely, you know, super. It reminds me of strawberry lemonade, but not sweet.
And this to me is so Shauna because every time I gift her something, it has to have a mermaid on it because I know how much she loves mermaids.
I do. I adore mermaids.
Yeah.
So I learned a new thing.
Mermaids and dinosaurs.
Yeah. And I liked
one of the
mermaids
two.
before mermaids were like a thing.
Yeah.
I've liked
Here we
mermaids
go.
for a really long
Here we go.
Let's talk about Daryl Hannah as a mermaid. Like that's how
Splash.
long I've liked
Splash.
Splash.
Yeah.
That's how long I've liked
We're
mermaids.
80s
familiar.
babies.
Yeah, 80s babies.
But-
Clearly, we just dated ourselves.
Yeah. Well, you ladies are much younger than I am, but even the other label, the classic Rockwall, the black bottle, the Skyline. I mean, really one of the best wine bottles, wine labels ever.
Oh,
Thank
the
you.
actual-
Ever.
Thank you.
Yes, there it is,
I mean-
right there on the on
let's
this right here. Oh yeah.
Oh, wait, there it is. I mean, so cool, and no paper label, so you get the
Yeah,
the
it's ceramic
bottles.
silkscreen, which is
Yeah.
actually a much greener way to go. The ceramic silkscreen is actually done with bentonite, which is clay, and silica, which is glass. The bottle is heated up, clearly before the wine is in it. The bottle is heated up, and there's a ceramic plate that it's like rolled over, and it is melted into the glass. So it's a much greener way than using paper.
Gorgeous.
I mean, it's beautiful, right?
Yeah.
It really is beautiful. I mean, like, there's some wines where it's like a crappy package, but the wine's really good. Or you have a beautiful package and the wine's like meh. You know?
Meh, yeah.
We
I
nailed
know
it.
that. I know.
But
it's a sad thing.
I mean, it's perfect inside
Thank
and
you.
out.
Well, and this was something that, you know, I always used to sketch. I'm sure Lisa probably remembers. I was always
That's
sketching.
going to come
Probably
out
the
later.
city-
Lisa's got the
Yeah.
dirt later. Yeah.
see if we have any.
I don't know if any of my drawings are in there, but
I do have your old drawings in here.
I definitely that was one of the things I used to sketch. You know, we used to go out to the base back when the base decommissioned in like 1997. So when we were going into high school. Oh, that is one of my drawings. That's a scratch board. One of my doodle drawings.
That's what I used to do in like fifth period.
Totally.
I was just like,
I'm sure that was
God.
done in fifth
Yeah,
period. Yeah.
Exactly right. That's a fifth period type of drawing.
It is.
I am a hoarder, so I totally probably have the original that was on, and like, you know, you keep that box of all of the like letters and pictures and drawings. I have everything, and I have like I totally kept like friends' drawings of other people's stuff. So
The letters
one
you passed
day.
in class, right?
All of
right.
those.
Yeah.
Before texting was a thing,
Yes,
you had to
oh my-
write letters
Exactly
to each
right.
other on paper
And
with
sneak them
pencils.
too, so
I
your
thought-
teacher didn't catch you.
I
That
just
was
had
the
a
problem.
nostalgic moment where I felt bad for the kids of this generation that
Who are
won't
never
have-
going to do that.
Yeah, they're not going to even have the ticket stubs from the concerts they go to
Because
because
it's
they
all
were
electronic.
scanned.
Oh,
on their
that's
stuff.
sad.
I mean, I still
Cheers
have
to
like.
Cheers to the new generation.
That's right.
Do you
Good
remember
luck.
we
Good
used
luck.
to go to raves together, me and this girl.
Oh
And
man,
I know, so I just-
Cyberfest '97
I
was our
have
first rave.
The ticket from Cyberfest, I found it the other day, and I was
Were you
Was
like,
that
guys
on-
there?
Was that on Hagenberger?
Yeah, dude, at the old
So
home base.
here's the funny part. So we threw those raves.
Oh,
Oh
we
my
were
God.
there. That's so.
we
It's a
were
Jeff Dellum party right
we
there.
were all
Shout
up
out
in
to
those
JD.
raves.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
What was the
That was bad
Valentine's Day
news.
one? Love.
I don't know. I remember Popsicle was like a really dope rave. That was what Second and Jackson.
My parents.
There was a meat packing facility during the day, and then at night you go and it's like, God, I'm like smell like meat. What?
My
why?
parents just ignored the flyers for the raves that I papered my door with. Not even the wall, the door to my room on the outside of the door, not the inside of the door.
So just so everybody
And it was
knew,
like Cyberfest, all Candy Crush, and I'm like, what? You guys don't see this?
you have no idea what's going on, do you?
No.
Yeah.
You're like, wow, Lisa really likes beads. She just wears bracelets and bracelets and bracelets.
And really like the baggy pants that look like I don't know.
Jankos, dude.
Yes, I saw an ad for
Jankos.
those the other day.
I did too.
On
Please tell me
Facebook.
they're not coming back.
No, it was
I
on
can't.
Facebook talking
I
about
can't.
how funny they were.
Okay,
That's
good.
thought it
that's a
Emma.
problem.
It's
I was
ironic,
old
right?
then, so now I still have no idea what you're talking about.
When
pretty
you went
brutal.
to the raves, you saw those.
No, we
pants.
made money.
So
on the
Lisa's
raves.
dancing in her pants.
The most lucrative part of the raves was selling water. That was
Oh,
where
I
that's
bet.
where
I
made
bet.
like 20 grand on
Because
selling
they
water.
were $10 for a bottle of water.
Well, sometimes they were just $1.
Well, you had a
but you'd
monopoly.
sell- yeah,
I mean,
exactly right.
and people are thirsty.
So when we would negotiate with the Home Depot, the Hagenberger, the guy would be like, "Cool, you could do whatever you want." I mean, we'd have Ferris wheels and all kind of shit out there. He was like, "But I sell the water. Like I
You're
sell
like,
the water.
okay.
If I see you or catch you selling any water, we got problems."
Oh,
I was
wow.
like, "You gangster ass mother."
Okay.
I was like, "Cool."
He's
I
got
you."
concessions,
He's
and
got-
all
yeah,
they need is
exactly,
water.
Exactly right. But it's so funny. It's funny that you guys went over
We were your patrons at that
Yeah.
time. Yeah.
that. So
It's hilarious.
what's next for Rockwall? Where are you going? Like, tell me. Give me some inside information as
Sure.
the Ben Rockwall fan that I
Sure,
am. What am
sure,
I?
sure.
What can I look for the new year? Where are you going?
Well, I'm continuing to develop new products, which is exciting. Like I mentioned, the Sagrantino. I found this really dope vineyard site out in the Tracy Hills, of all places. So it's the only vineyard in the Tracy Hills AVA, as it should be. There shouldn't be a ton of grapes growing there. Let's just keep it real.
Amen.
But I found this amazing family, the Browns, Jeffrey Brown. Hey, guys. They are growing just some incredible Italian varieties. I mean, it really has kind of similar temperatures to Tuscany out there, believe it or not.
Right.
Tracy, you could live in Tuscany for much, much less expensive. But I found this vineyard, and it has all of these 1 acre plots of like Sagrantino, Montepulciano, Colorino, Counoise, Chiligiolo, like all of this stuff. And I'm like, why do you have this?
So, quick background.
Yeah.
You got California. Guys are planting grapes. You get kind of a wine boom. Everybody thinks they can grow grapes. They plant a bunch of stuff all over the place, right? Anywhere that has any kind of decent climate, anything, they plant grapes, whether it's the foothills or Tracy or, other Contra Costa County places. But it takes, I mean, look, if you plant a vine, it's 5 years to grow it, build the canopy, do all that kind of stuff before
Yeah.
you can even do anything
Develop
with the
decent
wine.
fruit.
Exactly right. So there was a thing in California where people just planted whatever weird varietals they could ever find anywhere. It's kind of like throw it at the wall and see what sticks.
That's
Let's
exactly
see
right.
what we can make that might actually be good, right? So she is going and finding those little places
That
and
haven't been
seeing-
torn out.
and because they sucked, right?
Yeah.
And so
Yeah.
So after 10 years, they go, "Wow, this shit is awful." So you
or
tear it out
geez,
and you
there's
plant-
not a market for Sagrantino.
Well, right,
out
or
of-
no one's
out
ever
of
heard of
Tracy.
it. Right,
Yeah.
right.
You ever had Sagrantino?
Oh yeah, all the time.
Yeah.
Yeah,
No,
every
That's
day.
my favorite.
Every day. Sagrantino.
Yeah.
No. So anyway, so you're going and you're finding these little rough little patches of stuff and finding the stuff that's actually good.
Yeah.
That's fucking great.
It's fun. It's fun, and it tickles me,
Well, I'm
to
pretty
like,
tickled, I gotta
right?
tell you,
And
yeah.
like for me, like when I get super jazzed about something, like you can pretty much tell, and then like I like to pass it on. It's just like The Montepulciano was kind of a contentious wine initially because the first year I did this was 2008. That was the first year we started Rockwall. And I learned how to make wine from my dad, Kent Rosenblum, and he's king of Zinfandel.
We're going to get there, yes.
Big, bad Zinfandels,
Monsters,
like
just
16.5%
exactly right.
alcohol, no holding back, a little bit of residual sugar, 100% new oak, just huge. And I grew up on those, and I liked those, but I also could only drink one glass of those. And I didn't want that. I like to drink wine. I wanted to have a couple of glasses of wine. So when I started making wine, I wanted to make it a little bit lower alcohol, a little bit more accessible.
Just approachable. Yeah.
More approachable, and frankly, I think a little bit more contemporary for our generation. People want something to sip on. They don't necessarily want something that's like, you want a big wine with your steak, but, something to sip on beforehand.
Your dad's Big
nice.
Zins with a steak is kind of one of
Epic.
the best things ever.
Epic.
Really.
Epic.
No doubt there.
Yeah.
Benny Mac seal of approval right there.
Nice.
Yes. So...
But when I started making wine, like the Montepulciano here, you'll see when we pour it in the glass, it looks like cranberry juice. And my dad goes, Shauna, you can see through this. He's like, no one's ever gonna buy this. And we had sort of one of those moments one might write for a movie, where we had our first open house and it was released at 12 o'clock on a Saturday. And 24 hours later, all 100 cases that I made were sold out.
Nice.
And
Take that, Pop.
Yeah, my dad's the best person on earth, so I didn't have to say anything. All he said was, "Okay,
well done."
That's all. I didn't have to say anything. All he said was, "Okay, okay."
I have two quick things because I want to get right back to talking about your dad a little bit. But the other thing about planting every grape imaginable in every little location is that they're not necessarily varietally correct.
Absolutely.
Right? So if you grow this in Italy in the place where it's supposed to be grown, that's the traditional style. Mm-hmm. If you plant it in Tracy, you are not expecting to get the same Montepulciano that you were going to get somewhere else.
It's different soil.
It's everything.
Different weather,
climate,
different
everything.
terroir.
Even if you got the same strain, the same everything, it's just not going to be handled differently, the same. Even the growing practices, it's everything, right? So...
And the water table here is, so many variables.
So are you thinking?
Let me just say, the one thing I might know about wine is where it's grown might even be determined on what it's called. Like you said,
regionally,
like champagne,
right.
Certain things are grown
Good point,
in certain
Lisa.
can only be called this because it's grown in this area.
No. So we were just talking about where did I put it? The
bubbly.
sparkling wine. Yeah. So this is sparkling wine because it's made here in California. And it's not champagne because it's not made in Champagne, France. If this had been made in Champagne, France, well, there are regulations about what grapes you can put into it. But if it's made in Champagne, France, you can call it champagne. If it's made outside of Champagne, France, it's sparkling wine.
So do you care about it being varietally correct? Or do you just want to make badass wine with whatever you got and however you find the fruit?
Both.
So you try to keep it a little bit.
Yeah, I definitely do my due diligence as far as researching and see what I do and do not like about, certain varieties or certain areas where they come from. And then really try to find areas that emulate those growing patterns or weather or I was freaking shocked to find out that Tuscany and Tracy Hills have similar weather.
I had
what?
no idea. I had never heard that. I had
No.
idea. Yeah. But I will tell you this, and this is not an overly expensive wine. It's just, but it's really delicious.
Thank you, and it's done in the style of a Pinot Noir, so
Yeah.
super approachable.
Let's try this one.
Yeah, dude, let's do it. Let's do it.
We're talking about.
I know. I gotta reach down in my box here.
And then while we're
You can,
doing that,
will you
so
dump that in the
I'd be happy
microwave?
to. So when you decided you were going to do Rockwall, and tell me about the name. Why Rockwall?
Yeah. Okay. So Rockwall is sort of an homage to our location. So we are located on the old Alameda Naval Air Base, and the Naval Air Base is surrounded by a rock wall that was built during World War II to keep out all the torpedoes and submarines.
Oh, cool.
So if you're from Alameda and you say, oh, we're going to, say pre-2008, before Rockwall was a winery, say, oh, we're going to the Rock Wall, it's like, oh, you're going behind Encinal High. You're going to the Rock Wall. And so I think it's sort of it's a very typical Alameda
It's an
sort of
Alameda
land.
thing.
It's an Alameda thing.
It's even better.
Yeah, it's an Alameda.
Okay, and this
thing.
is my last little thing before, and I'll quit geeking out, and we
No,
can get on
no,
other
no,
stuff.
no.
Geek hard, dude. Geek it.
So, you're Shauna, right?
Yes,
Rose
sir.
and Bloom. You could probably be in the family business, right? That's how you came up, learning about wine, helping your dad, making wine, doing all that stuff. And you decided to go do your own thing. Why?
It's a great
Rebellious young woman, or
I think you
nobody
just,
was giving you the avenue to be creative as you needed to be, or what?
Yes, and yes. I mean,
I knew it.
you just said all the things. You just said all the things.
I know.
Yeah, you got the vibe. But yeah, I grew up. I mean, Lisa worked at Rose and Bloom back in the day.
Oh yeah.
Shauna
Got fired a
I
couple times. but
did.
They brought me back
I
every year
did
because I'm
get
a hard
fired.
worker.
I don't know if we want to say why I got fired.
I
Well,
think we
you're
do.
rebellious.
Come on.
I was
Shauna-
righteous though. I made a move for the people.
Shauna has always been a rebel. She'll rebel even against her namesake.
It was
Right.
wrong. What he was doing was wrong.
It was wrong. You are wrong.
Yeah. Anyway, I don't know if we need to go there, but
So there is a bit of rebellion.
Yeah,
In,
well-
I tasted in your wines.
well, thank you. Thank
Which
you.
is,
It's rock and roll, man.
It
You
is
taste a little bit of rock and roll.
Son of a biscuit.
I grew up in like I said, in the winery at Rose and Bloom. My Girl Scout troop used to go stomp grapes there. Lisa and I started working on the bottling line at age 12.
Yeah.
So we worked for $5 an hour, and we were like dripping sweat. My dad said we were the best employees he'd ever had. And he goes, "Do you guys have more friends?"
Mm-hmm.
Hell yeah, we have more friends. So we went and got more friends, and we were like the richest kids on the block. 'Cause
Yeah.
we were getting paid
It
$5
was-
an hour cash.
It was really a
money.
great
Cash.
job growing up. Yeah.
So it's like you were mentioning it earlier, where you were saying, well, what people don't know is I work 14 hours every day.
Yeah,
right?
and not every day. That's exaggerating.
well,
but
but I mean-
during harvest, it's not exaggerating.
No, harvest is brutal. So I've made a tiny bit of wine
Awesome.
in my life. I have a friend that we've planted some Zinfandel in Contra Costa County in
Yay.
Antioch, actually.
Where?
And, come on.
No,
I'll
dude,
tell
I
you
so
after.
want to know about this.
J. Duran Vineyards. It's
Okay.
my friend. He named his wine company after his father.
Oh, I love it.
But people think that making wine is like a glamorous, right? You must get this all the
All
time.
the time. And
oh,
you know
you're a
what?
winemaker.
You know
that
what,
must
though?
be so,
You don't ruin the dream for them, though.
Oh, no,
You don't
I-
ruin the dream.
Well, people always ask, like, well, I got to go. I'm going to meet my friend at 4:30 in the morning. We handpick. I mean, it's like a quarter acre.
I mean-
it's not like
Yeah.
350 vines,
Yeah.
something like that. It's not a ton. And they're like, oh, I want to help. And I'm like, no.
No, you really don't.
No, you don't.
You don't.
If you still want to be my friend, if
Yeah.
you still want to
Yeah.
love me, then just drink the wine.
well,
Don't,
and whenever people are
when
adamant,
I'm on the 45-degree hill angle with my baseball cleats on, so I don't roll down the hill
Yes!
picking all the.
Dude.
I mean, you
Dude.
don't want to. You don't want no part of this. You have no idea what you're getting into.
Well-
You're not going to sit around and drink wine.
no,
and do all
there's
this,
no
like,
actually no drinking involved.
beer. Beer is what
yeah,
fuels
beer at
the
the
wine
end of it
business.
is.
Right?
It is. Takes
But-
a lot of good beer to make good wine, right?
So it is just glorified farm work.
I was
It-
gonna say,
it is.
I've again grown up with this girl my whole
Yeah.
life, gone to the vineyard for fun camping and like hung out at the winery, but I've never put in no hard work or anything. My perception has always been it's like glamorized farming.
For sure.
Well, it is, and it's
hard work,
I mean,
man.
frankly,
It's hard work.
it's like the vineyard is a whole other thing. I mean, the vineyard it's hardcore farming. It's agricultural work.
Oh my God, that's beautiful.
Thank you. This is you got the Montepulciano in your glass right now.
no
Pino
wonder.
Pino will
Thank you.
finish the story here, at the end of our show here. But yeah, it is farm work,
I mean,
and
you
it's
must get
hard.
that all the time.
Oh,
right?
I do.
Yeah.
And like I said, you don't ruin the dream because people.
I just keep them away.
Yeah. Well, and whenever people are like, I really want to come, work harvest with you, I'm like, okay, wear clothes you do not care about. Show up at 6:30. I'm going to work you hard. You're gonna have a good day, and
There's
you're
no
going to be
crying, there's no
very
quitting,
tired at
there's
the end
no-
of the
right.
day.
I can
Yeah.
do it.
Yeah.
I know you
I
could
can
do
do
it.
it.
As long
but
as you know what you're getting into.
Yeah.
But you mentioned the 4:30 in the morning thing, and I have a 2-year-old daughter, and during harvest, most of my day I usually get up at around 3:30 or 4 a.m. Get to the winery, get things cracking, so that I can get home by 6 p.m. and hang out with my daughter. And
Well, for us, we're a 2-guy show in Brentwood, and you're checking the brix levels, which is the amount of sugar in the grapes,
sugar levels,
and you're trying to figure out when you want to harvest, and then all of a sudden, I will have a job. We all have jobs. It's and then all of a sudden there's like a 3-day 100-degree streak, and then it's like, oh fuck, we have got to go tomorrow, right now, and we have to call in sick from our jobs and show up at 4:30 in the morning and be if we wait one more day, we got a whole field full of raisins.
It's done.
It's just raisins.
Well, and that's the thing that people don't understand is Lisa, when I first started making wine, at Rockwall, everyone would say dude, I haven't heard from you. Where are you? I miss you. Let's hang out. When are you going to be available? I'm like, I don't know.
Yeah.
And it's well, what do you mean you don't know? Literally, I don't know. Well, the fruit is ready when it's ready. I've got to pick it, and when's it going to be done? I don't know. You don't know.
I just remember when she started, Rockwall was the name of, Shauna by herself. But, she didn't have a warehouse.
I didn't have any. I was the only employee. I was the only person.
Yeah, but she won
everything.
Awards. She killed it with this, and it's the same sort of thing. She's an empowered woman. She got her family to back her based on the sort of product that she could put out there.
Thank you, girl. Yeah. Thank you. Well, and I think circling back to what you were talking about, that spirit of sort of rebellion. I did work at Rose and Bloom for, growing up, my whole my formative years. I mean, I grew up there, and it was all men. It's all men that work there. And frankly, the wine industry is still comprised of almost all men. When I first started making wine in 2008, women comprised 5% of the winemakers in the industry. There's a statistic that I really like. Over the past 10 years, we now comprise 10% of the wine industry, which is awesome. So there's roughly 7,000 wineries in the United States. Women are making wine at 700 of those. And it doesn't sound like very many, but 10 years ago, it was only 350 of those.
Yeah.
So that's a brilliant statistic, and I love to see that. But growing up in the wine industry, it is not a friendly place for women.
It's true.
It is not. I mean, people in the tech industry, you guys know exactly what I'm talking about. It's not a friendly place for women. It's an old boys club. It is.
And I'll tell you from, because even before we made wine, I did a lot of crushes, and, you try to learn and try to in all different places. And, I can be as guilty as anybody, to be honest, to go, oh, it's too hard to work, or it's this or it's that. And you just kind of, without even knowing, sort of discredit the ability of women. Mm-hmm. And I think it's an epidemic that's kind of happening globally in our society, which is it's remedying itself. Mm-hmm. The it's rising to the top.
Yeah.
But it's interesting to think of that in terms of the wine business, because
it is.
I like the finesse of wine, and there's an elegance to the wine, and I naturally think women when I think
totally,
you know what I mean.
Totally.
I naturally think
that it would be a thing that women could do so naturally.
And the best Psalms in the world are women.
Yeah.
Women have the best palate. I mean, I'm just gonna throw it out there. Mm-hmm. I mean, I've broke my nose too many times being an idiot man, so my taste buds are no good.
Have you been lucky enough to be in the what's it called, the area where you're making all the wine?
The cellar?
Yeah, the cellar, inside the actual cellar. When they took over Rockwall, they discovered this amazing painting. Mm-hmm. It's a Polynesian theme, and it's all about 10 women or so wearing sarongs, and they're all making wine with an old-fashioned press. And
it was actually it's like a 30-foot wide by 10-foot tall painting. It's a triptych done on 3 wooden panels. But it was actually it was painted in 1944.
It is truly beautiful.
And you just found it?
Yeah. So it was painted by one of the U.S. Naval Reservemen out on the base, and it was actually a commission by the Navy to depict the harvest of 1944. Done entirely by women
right.
Because the men were fighting the war. I mean, very important work, but it's an interesting concept. The women picked all the fruit,
picked all the slack.
They picked the avocados, they picked everything, they picked the grapes, and this painting depicts that harvest. And this painting actually hung in the mess hall on the Navy base from 1944 until 1997 when the base decommissioned. It's an incredible painting. Can you ever bring that up, girl?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I
It's
would love
gorgeous
to see
whenever
that.
you have a
Yeah.
chance to go to the winery.
Well, I'm
Yeah.
hoping that my geekness has earned me
Yeah.
some kind
At
of
least
pass
a
or
cellar
something.
tour,
Exactly
for
right.
sure.
Yeah.
We'll have to do a field trip.
For
please,
sure.
please. So that's a good transition, and I've kind of over geeked the whole time here. But moving on, one of my aside from the wine, one of my favorite thing about having both of you ladies here, kind of in our without being overly political or anything, but here we are in our current climate of basically it's a brand new women's movement that's kind of bubbling under and coming through. I, for one, am pretty okay with it. I'm pretty stoked about it. I think
Yeah.
it's like it's time, and I've got two entrepreneurs here, two badasses. I mean, you look at you got like the sexual misconduct. There's so many storylines. What's your temperature on all this stuff? Like when you watch the TV, I mean,
It's not surprising to me,
No.
unfortunately. I mean, I think
nobody's surprised.
Yeah, I
it's
think-
an old boys club, right? But I mean, just the way that it's kind of coming
Well, you know
out
what? That's
and the way
not true.
that it's
I
going.
was absolutely, totally shocked and surprised that men, and when I say that men, anybody, the women that were victimized that first came out were the women, the top of the top, the echelon, the Angelina Jolies, the
It needed them,
you
though,
know,
right? To spark
exactly.
it, don't you
Right.
think?
I think so.
Don't you think?
I do.
The courage that they had the
kind of-
power.
Exactly. The names that came out first and then the trickle down effect. Everyone's going to listen now. But to say that even okay, so I didn't read the article yet, but I was walking out the door looking at my Yahoo page, and there was a title that showed Natalie Portman, and it said 100 incidences of inappropriate behavior that she's probably personally documented that's happened to her. Exactly that, it doesn't matter who you are. So just this weekend, I had to deal with
I was going to
the
bring
biggest
that up, please.
a-hole you couldn't believe. He was given too many opportunities, too many chances, and again, it's just in one evening in a bar, and he kept getting away with it. There were reports that he was groping, and I've said from now on, even just a single report, the gentleman should be escorted out of the
86th.
building. He was able to talk his way back in. When I, walked past my security, I had said, I think he should be escorted out. I don't hover over my security, and I allow them to make decisions. I certainly have the veto power, of course. And after I asked if he was, bounced, they said, no, he's still here. And I went up to him and I said, okay, I see you're still here, and, I hope you have a good evening and that you continues to be a good night. And a few minutes later, or I don't even know how long, bar time, I overhear some young women describing to their boyfriend to go in and take care of the individual who just groped them. So before I can turn around to try and handle this, my security were already on top of it, very much trying to get him out the door, but he wanted the last word. He wanted to stay in the bar and loud and be mad. And then I lost it, and I got into his face, and we went back and forth, and he turns to me and says, men are talking. And he's just like, get out of here.
What does that mean? What does that even
What
mean?
does that even mean? I keep losing my
Well, I can
headphones
tell
here.
you, I know.
Men are talking. Like about you?
Look,
Who knows?
What does he mean?
And
as a
then-
child, right? You be rumming, and people will go, grown folks are talking.
Yeah. He was
it's just so
belittling me. That
belittling.
was the
It's just
entire
so-
thing.
Oh, you
point
think
of
that's
it.
what he meant?
Oh, yes.
I have 100%.
It's 100%.
I promise
he
you
flipped it.
what
He
he
said,
meant.
little
Yeah.
girl, men are
talking.
Exactly.
It was to
Oh,
belittle
okay,
me, to put me
okay.
down. And then when asked by my security, why
Jesus.
you've been groping women, he says, I'm not a groper, I'm a pimp.
Oh, here we go.
So
Ew.
in his mind, he has the right, the given right to lay his hand on anyone, woman that he wants.
That's what he said?
That's disgusting.
That was
That's
the
disgusting.
perspective that he gave to us when we were asking him, you've been doing this. And instead of denying it, it was, I'm a pimp. I can do what I want. And I, unfortunately, when I say I lost control, he got very derogatory with me. And I never called him anything more than an asshole. But
You're probably right.
I couldn't. I mean, there's no other words I could express. That was my
Deservedly.
problem. In the moment, I was astonished You know, well, not unfortunately, quite the opposite. I've grown up with men who have always treated me with respect, who value my opinion. And then I was very lucky that evening. A stranger pushed me down. A man pushed me down. And then another stranger, another man, came and raised me very high. You know, literally wiped my tear from my face and said, "You are a strong, powerful woman. I've watched you work hard here every night." So there's two sides to the coin.
There's a dichotomy.
Yes.
Yeah.
You know, there's the good and there's the bad, and you just have to, you know, we have to weed these people out and show them that this society is different and this is wrong.
Well, and show them what's acceptable and what's not, and champion, frankly, the positive behavior. You know,
I had several
Be
men come up to
strong
me,
and,
approach me, tell me you were good, you did the right thing. And I was good to have them approach me as opposed to the women who I approached later and said, "Hey, I heard that story. I did that for you." So that was my story from the weekend.
That is a really great point. I think there are two sides, and there are different levels of men, right? Of
course.
Masculinity and there's also the interaction between women, right? Where you're like, "I did that for you."
Yeah.
Like, stick up for each other.
Absolutely.
Right? Empower each other. I mean, when you see somebody struggling, pat them on the back. You know what I mean?
I think that just goes for humans in general, though, right?
Exactly
like, you know, if you see your fellow human, you know, like needs a little something, it's like give him a little love.
It's that time of the universe right now that we all have to kind of get together and group up, whether it's, you know, racial, sex, transgenders. Like, there's so much cool stuff going on, right? I mean, look at in politics, right? We got our first transgender people elected.
Yeah,
exactly right.
yeah.
You see, went to who was it? I'm so bad with actresses. Lovato, Demi Lovato. Demi Lovato took her as her +1 to the AMAs. Did you see that?
I didn't see that.
Come on,
I
that's
saw that
so
she
cool.
took somebody interesting, but I missed who it was.
Oh, cool.
I mean, that is like
That's
badass,
great.
right?
That's great.
Yeah.
Right.
It's
Empower
inclusive.
Each other. Exactly right.
It's inclusive. And frankly, it's what it should be. You know, that's what it should be.
I mean, I agree 100%. And like, I'm an older white male. You know, I say this a lot. It's kind of my precursor. Is like, you know, I try to be very sensitive and I try to be very supportive, and I want everyone to be the best people they can be every day, all day, no matter where you come from or what your interests are or whatever. But it's a tumultuous time. It's a time of like turnover and upheaval, and everybody's kind of finding their power and finding their voice, and it goes back to what I said about great art coming from things and great change. And I mean, I'm actually, as so many people are so bummed out about things are going on, I'm kind of excited because
lights a fire under people.
You have to like,
Lights
I
a
mean,
fire.
like it's really, it's like a big zit, right? It's like all these things have to come to the surface and get expelled before you can heal.
Yeah.
And I think that we're on that. I know you got me there, Sammy, but I think we're on that.
I think even though
right?
that's really gross, it's also really beautiful. That's a beautiful, beautiful thing to say, though.
Yeah.
You know, it is. I feel like you're right. And, you know, talking about like a renaissance of a women's movement, like I think when we first saw that women's march a few years ago, you know, when Trump was, you know, whatever. I think it was like March of 2016 we saw the first women's march. But I think one of my favorite signs that I saw was, "I can't believe I still have to protest for this shit."
Oh, is it older? Was it
Yeah,
older? Like,
yeah,
No, I
right?
did this in the 60s,
Yeah,
and I can't believe
exactly.
I'm still fucking here
Yeah,
right now. No,
exactly.
it was a great sign.
It was like, dude, that's perfectly stated.
Like, shout out to the gentleman out there. Like, all I try to do is be the best man I could be every day, and be better
thank you for
tomorrow
that. Thank you
than
for
I
that.
was. And I would
And
love
there
it
are
if-
so many of you. We're not discrediting any awesome men because you guys
That's
are
important,
awesome,
too.
and thank you for all your positivity and keep being awesome.
I mean, I would love it if you guys were to talk to my wife, and I would take pride in the fact that she would say, you know, Ben supports me. He wants me to be the best I can be. He wants me to always be a badass and always kick ass and do all these things. I mean, to me, that's the greatest compliment you can get, you know. And I think more men should be chasing that compliment. Don't hold people back. Don't hold people down.
Well,
Just,
and being a feminist does not mean you're anti-male.
Exactly right.
You know, I mean,
Exactly
you're
right.
pro-woman, which means you're a decent human being.
Amen.
Like, you know?
Amen.
Yeah. Go, dude. Right on.
No. I
Yeah.
mean, it's like that's why. Like, aside from all the wine geekiness, I mean, you are two very accomplished ladies, and in this type
Yes,
of
sir.
world, in this climate, you have a lot to offer. You have a lot to say. You can inspire people. I mean, you guys inspire me. You know, it happened the last time I was here. I got inspired by you, and I was hoping the same here.
Lila.
And it's a new climate, and it's beautiful.
Yeah,
man.
it is. I think-
it's wonderful. It's fucking great.
I really like that perspective, though. I really do, because there's a lot that is like heavy, and it can really
Yeah.
weigh you down and get depressing. And you can take one side of it and say, God, I don't know. We're stuck in this for 4 years. Who knows what I'm talking about or anything?
Yeah,
but or you can say the zit analogy.
Exactly.
You
Let's bring it all to the surface. Let's clean it all out.
Purge.
Purge. Exactly right. Cheers
Let's
to
try it.
that.
What's this one here?
And a decent segue to our last
to
wine.
the Pinot, right? God, this is so good.
Thank
This
you,
is so
thank
good.
you.
It's
sure to
surprisingly
eat my
delicious,
food
and I
later.
don't mean surprisingly by like you're not talented, but just
When you
Yeah.
look at it, it's very, like I said, it looks like cranberry juice. And so one's first, initial response is like, oh, I bet this is wimpy. But, I ferment it and age it in thin stave French oak. So it has a really awesome structure. When it gets in your mouth, it's like, oh, it's hitting the top, the middle, the front, the back.
bright. It's
oh.
fresh.
It's got
it's
nice acidity.
Super cool. Yeah, very balanced with a good
Thank you,
acidity.
Thank you.
But the color profile, it almost like I was like, was that the Pinot?
Like
or is that
Pinot.
exactly.
And that's why I brought both of these, just for sort of the similarity
show the
right here.
difference.
The Montepulciano. So if you're a Pinot fan, which you should be, if you're
Which
not,
everyone should be,
try
right?
some Pinot. Oh my God, go to grocery outlet, go to Trader Joe's, buy some Pinot, get on the Pinot train.
You want to try the Pinot or the Montepulciano? Okay. Well, you've had that. 'Cause I crushed a bunch of these bottles.
I'm really glad I don't have anything else to do after this.
Yeah.
This is my evening.
Well, ladies, I mean, our hour went really fast.
This is an hour?
Yeah.
What?
And I think that it's kind of our Thanksgiving show,
Yes.
right? So if you wouldn't mind, one, telling us what you're doing for Thanksgiving, and also I know you had a Thanksgiving party for your staff, but also like let's talk about a couple of things we're actually thankful for.
Okay.
I
Oh,
know
yeah.
we didn't get very heavy, but we got a little
We got
into
a little,
that stuff.
we got a little heavy.
So like let's be
Back and forth.
positive. Like what are you thankful for?
So I'm thankful so much for my family,
Yes.
which is the greatest thing. I'm very, very thankful for the love of my life, Colin.
Yes.
Who is
She deserves Colin. Colin and Lisa
I don't
are
think
so
he's in the room
sweet
right now.
together.
after many, many years, I found the person that is the absolute perfect and my perfect
Oh, you're gonna make me
match.
cry, dude.
Good for you.
And we are going to be visiting his family in the morning. So we're going to do like this morning brunch. I'm bringing the champagne, and I said I would bring Rockwall champagne. So I have
Sparkling wine.
Yes, sparkling wine. Yes, I will be. I'll bring. Actually, I have a bottle of this. I'll bring some of this, and I'll get
Nice.
some regular. I don't know.
Sparkling wine.
And then we're gonna do the evening. We'll have 2 meals. We're gonna do evening with my family. So with
Nice.
my family, yeah.
Nice.
Sounds lovely.
What about you? We used to spend our Thanksgiving.
Thanksgiving was our holiday because we
Aw.
used to. She lived.
That's why I was happy this we got a little bit today.
Yeah. Oh, girl. We lived like a few blocks away from each other, and that was always like it was always our day. Like no
We
matter
made
what.
sure to get together.
Yeah.
In the middle of our family's things, just to spend at least an hour together.
Yeah. Go hang out. Whatever.
It's been a while.
Yeah. Well, I haven't lived in Alameda for
I know.
15 years, something like that. But yeah, but both of my family and my husband's family still live in Alameda. And now that I have a 2-year-old, it's a big day. So, on Wednesday we'll start prepping everything. I'll go over there and
You cook?
I do.
Oh,
I do.
good.
My mom has decided that she's not doing anything. So she said Thanksgiving is on you guys. So
If you want it, you make it.
I'll be doing some cooking. But my dad, being the awesome dude that he is, he actually smokes turkeys for all of the employees at Rockwall.
So
We have this
cool.
awesome smoker.
Yeah,
and
I
so
believe this,
He,
100%.
so you know what a macro bin is. It holds
I
a
do.
half ton of grapes.
I do.
So we brine 60 turkeys in a
in that-
macro bin.
Oh, man.
And then put them in a smoker, smoke them for 30
You sell
hours.
those?
No, we just give them to the
Damn
employees.
it.
Can I be an employee?
Yeah, are you hiring?
Yeah.
Right. for the season.
Colin
for
could
the
be an
holiday
Yeah,
season.
Colin can be an employee. Like you
He
just
needs a job.
volunteered.
I'm a really hard worker. Yeah.
I hear you like to harvest grapes at 4:30 in the morning.
Damn it.
Hired.
Oh, shit.
This
Okay.
was
But-
an interview you didn't know.
Yeah, exactly.
The
I hope I
opposite
did okay.
You win.
Oh, you win.
You win.
I'm going to go. We're going to Carla's family in Martinez, and we're going to. It's going to be about 50 of us.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, it's a Mexican family. I mean, no, just kidding. But there's going to be a ton of us. But super fun, beautiful people, lots of food.
Do they do tamales?
Carla, I don't think we do tamales on Thanksgiving.
Yeah, they do.
Oh, they do.
Yeah, they do.
She's like, yeah, they do.
Yeah.
It's amazing. So one of the funny things is one of the traditional Thanksgiving foods in Mexico is lasagna,
I love that.
pasta and lasagna.
I love that.
So I mean, it just
It's
absolutely
like Chinese food on Christmas.
right. It just absolutely
That's
flipped
for
my
Jewish
wig.
people.
Exactly, but that's awesome.
But you know what? I'm thankful for being healthy
Absolutely, man.
and like I was saying earlier, the treacherousness of the universe right now. Like I'm actually pretty happy I'm alive to kind of see this stuff and go through it, and I'm really anxious to see and really thankful to be able to make it to the other side and see what we can all do as a people together. You know
Like,
what I mean?
what's the future?
I'm
Absolutely.
really fired up about what's next.
I am too.
You know what I mean?
I'm
'Cause I think
almost
it's
as
gonna be-
excited as I am to see what Marshawn Lynch says back to President Trump.
Oh God, I think we're out of time.
No,
Otherwise, yeah, that's a whole another thing. But anyway, ladies, I couldn't have had a better time.
Thank you so
Yeah,
much.
You know what I
Shauna,
mean?
thank
I
you so
honestly
much for
couldn't
I
have
joining
had a
know,
better
us.
and you
time.
got to show our picture.
oh,
so
yeah, quick, as
Lisa,
we
Lisa
go
made
out,
me
yes,
bring this
please.
picture. So this is a photo book that Lisa compiled of our 20-something years of friendship. You don't need to look through the whole thing.
You got to
It's
get to
okay.
the first couple pages, though. I mean, some of the old.
Let's see.
Oh, like
some.
when we were the Seven Dwarves. That's pretty cute. Well, not clearly not just two of us, but
This is like 8th grade, 7 dwarves. We just wrote the names of the 7 dwarves on the t-shirt.
it was epic though. How dwarfy
Yeah.
are we? We're great.
It was super.
Dwarfy
But you know what's
are we? I've
great?
never heard
This
that,
is a
but
great
I
Christmas
get it.
present. This thing, I mean, it was like, I don't know, like maybe $50.
It's our
probably
new sponsor,
less.
right? What is
Shutterfly.
Shutterfly. It's
And
our
this
new
is before,
sponsor.
Shauna, I should make you a new one because I didn't know how to make anything cute. It was just typed.
Well, I know what to expect for Christmas.
Yes. Ooh.
Yeah.
Sam, I think we can put a bow on this one. Thanks for having me.
Thank you.
Ladies, again, cheers.
Dad.
Absolutely.
I had such a good time.
Absolutely.
We can continue this conversation off camera
Yes.
and have a good time and some more drinks.
Yeah.
And eat the meal.
Benny Mac out for the Slam Show.
Have an incredible Thanksgiving,
That's right. Happy
guys.
Thanksgiving,
Cheers.
everybody. Much love.
I've had so much wine, I have to drink or I have to eat this.